describe your creative process? It's the hardest question, but...
Mine's pretty organic, I guess. You just get an idea. I mean, you have ideas all the time. I always have a notebook with me, and you never know when it's going to strike, when you're going to have great ideas flowing, and then you go through a drought, so you just always have to be ready to document it. So I do that, and then, I've got like all these pieces of paper all around my house and in the kitchen and the office and stuff, and then when I need to create a dish, I usually go through those and kind of, maybe it's 2 weeks later, and half of them I think, like, okay, I was maybe drinking or something here, I don't know. And then, there's a few I'm like, yeah, those, I feel those, I'm into it. And then the first thing I do is imagine myself just eating it, and kind of what are my expectations? What do I want to feel when I'm eating it? And then usually it just kind of goes from there. No, we always test here. Yeah, and what we'll do is I'll come up with what I want to do for a new menu. It's usually 10, 14 items that we change every menu. And I'll sit down with the sous chefs and just throw out, either sometimes I'll come to the table with, this is exactly what I want. And sometimes I'll come to the table with, I just want to do, scallop carrot chicken. And then we just bounce ideas off of each other. And then, we set a date for the first plating, recipe testing, do our first plating, and then usually a week later do a second plating, and just kind of hang out and tinker until it looks right. Yeah, there's a few ways I do it. I'll get feedback. I mean, I can get a menu mix, a spread that shows me what's selling and what's not, which is, a helpful tool. And then I have certain servers who I really, trust, that give me good and, more importantly, bad feedback. And I try to adapt as quickly as I can if something's not going over very well. I can take that, and that's helpful. And so servers help a lot. Back of the house, the kind of feedback that I'll get from them is more, I'll give each cook, here's a new dish for your station. But every time I give a cook a dish, I would really like to see it evolve 5 to 10% from that point on, because I'm working on 14 dishes, and then I can bring it down, narrow their focus to just the 2 new dishes on their station. So they have more time, they're plating it every day, and they're cooking the recipes every day, so they get to make it even more personal. So usually the first 2 weeks of a new item, it's going to change 5 to 10%, which is, I think, a really cool system, because we all have input, And usually, like, I have certain cooks who I know are great at plating, so I'll go, okay, I'm going to leave him, a little bit of room here to do what he wants to do. Or certain cooks that are really good at, other things. And so I kind of tailor each thing I give them with a little room for improvement. I think it has to be obviously very balanced. Every component on the dish has to be made well with precision. It can't be sloppy, obviously. So those are the 2 most important. And then I think there should be something a little unexpected in the plating, and I think that's a standard that, Eric Anderson, the first chef here, really created for Sea Change, that we have really unique special platings and kind of more modern things going on here. So I try to uphold that, and I like things to be a little bit charming. I think there should be a little like, You eat with your eyes first, so it's really important to me. No, it is intentional, so that servers have a chance to interact and talk with people. And yeah, I mean, I definitely like the way the menu's written to be a little bit of a mystery, a little element of surprise. I think that's what people are looking for. A lot of people, at least, now. Maybe not 10 years ago, but I think we're over it. I really do. I mean, we sold 800 oysters this week. That's awesome. That's so awesome, and they're the best oysters you can get in the whole country. We have them flown overnight. There's no reason for people to be weird about it, you know? So, and I have live uni on the menu right now, and I'm selling it like 4 a night, which I think is awesome. So I think people are over it. Yeah, I do. I guess the reason I think it's important, it's a little bit of a story, but when I first went to cooking school, my mom, who's awesome, but doesn't know a ton about, you know, or didn't at the time, about food and the kind of restaurants that I was into, she said, well, you know, food can only be so good. And I was in culinary school and, you know, all ambitious. And I was like, oh, she doesn't know, you know, like what's going on in New York and stuff food can be. And I kind of like, the more I'm cooking, the more I realize, you know, that's true. You have to be able to evoke other emotions other than this tastes good, fork to mouth. There has to be something else going on, at least in my opinion. I get bored really easily. So if there's not something else going on to amuse me, then it's boring. I suppose, and this is a really simple example, but we have chawanmushi right now, which is a Japanese, really loosely set custard. And the flavors in it are, we make a bacon stock and set it with eggs, so it tastes like bacon and eggs. And it actually tastes exactly like one of those McDonald's croissant sandwiches that I haven't eaten in like 10 years, I swear, but that's exactly what it tastes like. But we serve it in a little jar. So I like the playfulness of the bacon and eggs in this really elegant Japanese, you know, really traditional dish. But to eat it, you have to unhinge and open the little jar, and then it's like garnished really intricately with little micro herbs and flowers and all this, you know, kind of silly but fun stuff. But I just like the idea of, like, you're using your hands and you're opening something, and it's just half a second of anticipation. Just something, it's just better than fork to mouth, you know? It's just something more simple, but yeah, it's, right now we're using the Summit Saga, and we just cook it down with warming, like, wintry spices and set it with pectin. So it's not like a chunky jam, it's a really clear, almost the consistency of like honey, like a thick honey. It's really good. We serve it with our biscuits, also in a little jar. I think it's really important that we, as chefs, learn all the ways that we can utilize the science that's available to us. I mean, you should see my shelf in there. We have a million things. We could do anything with anything, you know, but we try. So we have that knowledge to expand what we can do, but it needs to be just that. We need to be pragmatic about our use with it. That can't be the basis of our cuisine. It's more important to know how to bake bread and make cheese than make caviar out of cucumber juice, you know? I mean, it's cool and it's great, but it should be that extra. You gotta know the basics first, you know? One dish we have on the menu, the raviolis. It's ravioli, and usually it's done, I shouldn't say traditionally, but more recently in some modern cooking, you make a ravioli, put pomme puree or mashed potato down, and then an egg yolk, and then cover the ravioli. So instead of the potato we make bacala or salt cod instead of potato. So it's got that much more flavor, but it looks and has the texture of potato. And you cut into it and the yolk runs everywhere, which is pretty nice. It's identifying, I think, the importance of something, and then that's inspiring. I mean, maybe it's as simple as eating a cheeseburger on a perfectly toasted bun. You know? I mean, when you realize why you really love the cheeseburger, what are the components that are important in that? And to me, a really nice toasted bun, that little crunch, you know, you can hear it, you can taste the butteriness. That's super important. So that played a role in perfectly toasted brioche served with the uni. You know, like, that's like, toasted bread is magical, you know? So realizing those simple, important things is usually pretty inspirational. I think it plays into that whole thing of, you know, fork to mouth is getting a little boring for everyone. We want to know more and see more and experience. I mean, in Minnesota, what do we do for entertainment? Bowling, movies, and going out to eat. I don't really like bowling, and I don't really like going to movies, so I go out to eat. So I think it's got to become entertainment at some point, right? I think. I guess the thing in our kitchen I'm the most excited about right now is we're kind of in this movement of we've had the same team for a year and a half, and it took us maybe 8 or 9 months to really get to the point of what I consider organized enough to start really progressing and making some big changes. So we're making our own yogurt, making our own cheese, making our own vinegar, aging all of our own meat, and I'm pretty excited about that right now. See where that takes us. That's the cool thing about fermenting things, and it's like our yogurt is our yogurt. That's our culture. No yogurt in the world is going to taste any different than the yogurt we make at Sichuan. We use the same culture over and over again. So every time we make it, it tastes more like us, I guess. It's cool. It's exciting.
Get that.
Literally, yeah. I mean, unless we shared our culture, but somebody made it, then, eventually it would taste like their culture.